Hello everybody, my name is Ron Berlinski, and this is the 50 Nifty, also known as the Plastic Fantastic, and more formally known as the Canon 50mm f1.8 lens. Let's talk about it. When it comes to lenses, there are 6 different factors to look into: focal length, aperture, color, focus, build quality, and price. Let's go into them one by one. The focal length of this lens is 50mm. Now if you put this on a crop sensor, it'll seem like an 80mm from a full frame sensor. Now this focal length is good for portraits, it's also nice for landscapes. However, it's not very good if you want to film yourself or vlog. For example, this right now is around 24mm on a crop sensor, and this is around 50. I didn't move at all. The camera is around 1 meter away from me. It's pretty close. Very close. There were also times where I was missing the zoom. For example, I saw a squirrel and I couldn't zoom in on it because it's a 50mm, and I couldn't get too close because then it'll run away, so I couldn't get that shot. But if you're going and you know what you're going to shoot and you know that it'll work, then it's a nice focal length. A 50mm is something that works for many things. I personally think the focal length is a big plus if you know what you're doing. If you're going to a shoot and you know there isn't going to be anything you want to zoom into, and you know that there's going to be exactly things for portrait or something, then it's good. But if you're just going outside to shoot what you see, it's not the best, because then you'll want something with a zoom so that you can zoom in on something if it's further away from you and you know you can't get close and such. Aperture. The aperture for this lens is f1.8. This is fairly wide. It's good if you want a sharp object and the background to be blurry. It's also good in low light situations because a lot of light can go into the lens. I personally think the aperture is a big plus. It's not the best out there, but it's fairly wide, and it's good for low light, and it's good for bokeh, and it's good overall. The color of this lens is black. What I mean by that is the picture that it takes. When I take pictures, in comparison to the 18 to 200mm that I have here, it's very flat. There's not much color. If you're going to be doing editing and you're going to add color later on, it's nice. However, if you don't and you want to just use it from straight from the camera, the pictures will look a bit undersaturated. So the color of the lens is mwah, mwah. If you're editing, then good, but it just gives you more work to do. Focus. Now, this lens is an STM lens, meaning that the motor is inside the... It's an electronic motor. Now, but what does this mean when it comes to focus? So, some STM lenses are fast. This isn't one of them. Generally, USM lenses, the other type, is faster. STM lenses are quieter, but this one is quiet, but it doesn't really catch focus all the time. It takes quite a while to focus, and also when you're in manual mode, it's also not that great, because depending on how fast you turn it, it will focus a different amount. So, yeah, it don't really work well. And I found many times that if I wanted to change the focus really slowly, it just wouldn't move at all. So if you're doing video, or like you want to do close-up video, it's not the greatest. I'm not sure if this is specifically for this lens or generally STM lenses, but the focus on this is trash. The quality of the build quality. Now let's see, this lens is has a nickname called the Plastic Fantastic, and that's because it's plastic. It is not the greatest build quality. It's better than the older one. This is a bit more sturdy, but it's still not that great. The build quality of this isn't the best. I think people drop it a lot and it breaks. For me, it didn't break. I didn't drop it though because I'm careful. But like, listen. It sounds plastic. It is plastic. There's a bit of metal in the back, but the outside, the housing, it's all plastic. It's cheap, which leads us right to the next part. The price. I got this lens for €100, which is around $120. And for what you pay, it's actually really good. Sure, the build quality isn't the best. Sure, the colors seem a bit washed out. But the focal length, 50mm, that's really handy. The aperture, it's really wide for what you pay. Overall, I think for what you pay, it's really good. And the color, if it's a bit washed out, you can edit. The build quality, if it breaks, since it's so cheap, you can just buy a new one. I would definitely go buy this lens if I were you. It's something that every photographer should have. Yeah. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.